You may have noticed in the news that there are a couple of things going on with respect to public health. Number one is in China. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. After the Chinese Communist Party has been forced to recede from its COVID policy, its COVID zero idiotic policies, now it turns out there is a mass outbreak of COVID inside of China, both wreaking havoc on the elderly, and some 10% of the entire world's population could be infected with COVID in the coming weeks, given how widely spread the virus is, with which they have almost no plan to deal with it. Second, actually, and what I wanted to combine with this is what's happening here at home. Let's put it up there on the screen. The next element there, please, is the so-called triple-demic that's happening here right now in the United States. The spread of both COVID, of the respiratory syncytial virus, or otherwise known as RSV, and of the flu. And I think, Crystal, what I really wanted to get to was about how much this involves lockdowns and the failure of these policies. Because the reason why China is having this massive COVID outbreak right now is because they did not allow some sort of reasonable level of community spread up until this point and are getting slammed all at the same time by banking on a completely foolish and ridiculous policy. It's actually linked also to the same so-called triple-demic that's happening right now here in the United States. And I'll explain this. Mass infection of COVID was basically always inevitable, especially with the rise of Omicron. By locking people and especially kids up now for 2 years, we are now suffering the consequences of weakened immune systems that are all being exposed at once. And I want to be clear here. I'm not saying that the immune system itself became weaker, but it's called an immunity gap. It's a lack of exposure to many pathogens, germs, and infections that otherwise people would have gotten. RSV, for example. RSV is not a special virus. We've literally been dealing with this for years. However, and actually every child in the United States, and this is according to the CDC, is usually exposed to RSV by age of 2 and then continually on from that point. By having school closures and having a shutdown, we had a natural exposure cycle that would have happened both for infants and toddlers that are getting infected with this now, but also all children that are in some cases bringing it back home. It's now happening, though, all at once. This is, again, a direct consequence of school closure and of the lack of socialization of children. And I think this really is the first sign of a major public health catastrophe as a result of lockdown. I want to read directly from a new piece in The Atlantic, quoting mainstream scientists who are talking about how infants born during lockdowns have microbiota and immune systems irrevocably abnormal, which could result in a huge surge of autoimmune and health conditions. Quote, perhaps most at risk are kids whose families went into hyper-hygiene mode in the first couple months of their lives. Microbes are crucial for properly calibrating immune systems' anti-pathogen alarms. Miss out on those opportunities. Our body's defensive cells might end up mistaking enemies for allies or vice versa, sparking severe infections or autoimmune disease. For the health professionals who are listening, some of this is derivative of the so-called hygiene hypothesis. But something I want to underscore is that this is not conjecture. The CDC right now, in response to what's happening with RSV and the hospitalization of children, says, quote, because of low RSV cases in 2020 and in 2021, young children may be at risk for a more serious infection since their immune systems weren't exposed to the virus as much over the last few years. Direct admission by the CDC that school closure and lockdowns had very much to do with the actual overall immune development of children, very much also applicable to what's happening in China with their COVID outbreak right now. It is a direct fault of the government for both selling zero COVID to the population, especially in the case of the elderly who didn't want to get vaccinated and are now going to suffer the consequences. But also, they have nobody but themselves to blame for keeping people locked up for so long and then sparking a major, basically, run on the hospitals as of right now. So that's really what I wanted to focus on, Crystal. You know, everyone, a lot of zero COVID advocates on Twitter and elsewhere are like, see, this is what happened.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us. And if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.